the second talk show, second European talk show. And last time we discussed about happiness and education. And this time we invited 3 people from Europe, and we are going to talk about Europe and its people. And I'm Sebastian Katzung, and this is Lennert Werner, and we will guide you through this talk show.
I will introduce our guests for this talk show. First of all, we have Anne-Laure from Grenoble. She just finished her PhD. Then we have Edwin van Rest. He is CEO and founder of StudyPortals, a rapidly growing internet company based in the Netherlands. And Frank Heffter, head of group controlling at Oerlikon, a multinational industrial goods and service company based in Switzerland. I would like to ask you, starting with Anne-Laure, to elaborate a little bit on how you got where you are now, also with regard to your studies in industrial engineering and management, and maybe talk a bit about and discuss if you would still choose these studies and why.
So, well, if I start from my studies in industrial engineering and management, well, I loved it, I think. And that might be the reason why I still haven't left university yet. Still feel quite comfortable there. And
why did you choose it in the first place to study that?
I think for the management part, well, I had the technical background already, did a lot of math before, and I think I wanted to mix the math and really scientific point of view with the managerial aspects as well. And after that, well, I just decided to continue studying basically, and did a PhD in logistics. I'm doing operations research for logistics, and I completed my PhD in November, and I'm still working at the university now, teaching and researching. And
as I can see in my notes here, you've been to the US for a year or 8 months?
6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you do there?
Well, I worked in Mississippi State University, which is in Mississippi, as the name implies. And well, I have been doing research mainly, and I went there because there was that professor there, Dr. Greenwood, who was doing research which really had an interest to my PhD topic. So I went there to work with him for a while.
Edwin, would you like to continue?
Sure. I certainly have a lot to thank to my studies in terms of getting me where I am now. I chose industrial engineering for a very similar reason. I liked science and technology, but I was also interested in management and entrepreneurship, so I thought it was a great mix. I studied that in Eindhoven University, you can see over there, to the Eindhoven University of Technology, and there was an additional aspect. What interested me is that the study program in Eindhoven had an obligatory study abroad period. So every student needed to go somewhere to study abroad, and I had about 3 years to think about where I would go to study. And I figured out, well, if I go study abroad, I go for intercultural competence. So I thought that I could best go to the full other end of the cultural spectrum, and I chose to go study in Japan. And that was a fantastic experience for me. It was very difficult to arrange, but when I was there, it was fantastic. I was there for about 11 months in Osaka, and that was really great. And that's where I really saw the value of an international education, and that's also where I got the idea for StudyPortals, because the whole StudyPortals company is really based on helping other students to go study abroad as well. So yeah, it's been fundamental in my career, and then I got to learn my co-founders through my studies and through his team, and then I managed to get a lot of people working for our team through study friends and through networks that I got from studying, and we are working for universities and for students to help them find their best education program. So it's been very, I have a lot to thank to my studies.
And when did you found StudyPortals?
Well, actually we kind of started it within his team in 2007, and we founded it as a professional company in 2009.
In 2009?
Yeah.
Okay. And the 2 years gap, let's say, where you didn't found the company yet, but
yeah.
What did you do there exactly, and
so
how did you prepare for to actually start the company?
Well, in that time I also did some strategy consulting.
Oh, okay.
So I did like strategy consulting on a freelance basis 4 days a week. And next to that we were already working on back then it was the Masters Portal project.
Yeah.
And that became so big, and then we saw, hey, no, this is a big business opportunity and we need to hire a full team of professionals to do this. Back then it was still like a voluntary project, as many projects are in a team. But we saw that this opportunity was so big and there was so much work to be done, so that we needed to professionalize it.
So as I can hear, you would totally study IEM again.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I felt my studies prepared me very well for my career. I don't know if I would have studied at the same university, perhaps. Yeah, I now see, because I'm traveling a lot, and we also work with universities in the States and in China and in Australia, for instance. I think perhaps if I would do it again, I would immediately go for my undergraduate already in the States or in China. But I'm very happy with my study program and how my university has prepared me.
And if you communicate with all the universities all over the world, do you have several offices as well? Or do you do all your work from here?
Well, we do our European work, at least talking to the universities, we do that from here. Our headquarters in Eindhoven, so all our people are traveling a lot. And then we have an office in Boston, and our third priority market is Australia, and then we do from Melbourne.
And would you recommend other people, other students to found a company as well? And would you recommend it to everybody? Or do you need to be...
well, you know, I'm in a luxury position where I chose the entrepreneurial path and I was, successful with it, or at least I've been able to build up something and can have a comfortable life. Obviously it's also risky, so you need to balance that risk with the quality of the idea and the potential and whether it fits you as a person. I wouldn't say everybody is suitable for being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But I think especially in the stage where you are, that I started, just graduated, not much commitments in my life, lots of freedom. It was very easy for me to take an entrepreneurial year to give it a try. And that's something I can recommend to anybody who has the feeling that they have a good idea and have the skills and the motivation to set up a business.
So Frank, how about you?
Yeah, I think for me deciding whether to study IM or not was basically a little bit of a commercial decision. I was at the end of my school more biased against for mechanical engineering. But at that time there were probably less job opportunities inside for pure mechanical engineers. So I thought, how can I make myself broader and more flexible also on the job market? And that's how I decided to start studying IEM. And in hindsight, I think it was a very good decision because it doesn't actually put you in a box. Yeah? I at the end ended up more on the finance side than on the engineering side, which provides me much more opportunities also to work for different companies. The fact that I studied in Berlin brought me kind of naturally close to Siemens, who is one of the big employers in Berlin, where I already during my studies started to work in the summer vacation and did some internships which also took me abroad to places like Hungary, for example. I was in Budapest, I was in the States and in Great Britain. Doing some internships, which then again helped me see the value of an international education and working experience. And later on I also took my first job with Siemens, as they, as a big international company, provided me the opportunity to apply this also in my practical work, to work in an international environment and to combine technology and the commercial side of it. I did stay 2 years in the States for Siemens. I moved around in Germany quite a lot and now live in Switzerland since 8 years, working for Oerlikon, again technology and commercial in a combination. That's always important for me, and yeah, the studies helped me a lot in this.
Just for our viewers, actually, what does Oerlikon do?
Oerlikon basically has 4 business activities. On one hand, we are manufacturing machines, equipment for the production of natural yarn, so fibers. We produce vacuum pumps that are applied in a lot of different industries, be it semiconductor, process industry. The third business deals with designing and manufacturing gears for high torque applications, so in tractors, sports cars and the like. And the actually biggest division deals with the treatment of surfaces for protection against wear, tear or temperature.
As you said, you ended up more on the finance side now. How would you say the engineering part of IEM helps you in finance?
I can give you 2 very good examples. The first one, I spent all in all at Siemens and Oerlikon about 5 years in the area of investor relations, where you talk to the financial community, be it investors or analysts, sell-side analysts so-called. And in these meetings, they are interested in both your profit and loss statement, cash flow statement and income statement, balance sheet, but at the same time want to understand exactly what is your technology that you provide to the customer, how do you compare against your competitor, do you have advantages, yes or no. So in one meeting of 1 hour, you have to talk 30 minutes about technology and 30 minutes about finance, and that's great. And in the controlling part that I'm in now, certainly I'm living a lot of the numbers that I'm looking at, that I'm analyzing, but at the end of the day you have to understand what is behind these numbers to also make the right recommendations to the management, and therefore you have to understand what happens in the market, how is the competitive position, what is with your products versus the products of your competitors and the like. So also here you need technical background to give the right advice.
Frank, I would like to ask you, like, you chose the big company career path, or it chose you. During your career, all the way up to where you are now, what was the biggest struggle, the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome, and how did you do it?
Yeah, at a certain point I decided to change companies and take on another position in a new company. And after just a couple of months, it turned out that all the things that sounded so nice during the recruitment process changed on its way and made the job perspective much less attractive than it originally sounded. So at the end I had to decide on whether or not I do invest more of my time and energy into this job or not. And it was not easy to only after 7 months go back and say, sorry, but it's not working out. I'm not going to move my whole family, but I will quit and look for another opportunity. So also for me personally, it was after 15 plus years of good career path, always being promoted and progressing. The first time I had to tell myself, you are not really succeeding in this task and you will not make it here, and you have to work or accept this as a personal loss.
Did you feel like that this was a setback actually, or?
Yeah, actually, I did, and I decided then to take more than a year break.
Okay.
To really think about what has happened there. To what extent was it me? To what extent was the circumstances? Which was, in the hindsight, a very valuable time for me. I also had the chance to then spend a little bit more time with family and my then 1-year-old daughter, which I enjoyed very much. And that time really prepared me to then go back and take on a new position, which now, after 2.5 years, I can say I'm back in the saddle.
Yeah.
I overcame this, and was a helpful but also a little bit painful experience. I had.
Well, thank you for this very personal insight. Anne-Laure, what was your biggest obstacle? Maybe in achieving your PhD, finding your studies in the US, your visit. What was the biggest struggle?
I think my biggest struggle since I would say the beginning of my IEM studies have been making choices. Like it's not that I'm not good at making choices, but when you have a lot of opportunities, a lot of different options, which was, for example, the case when I decided to start my PhD, the opportunities were going to find a job somewhere or start a PhD, and then again at the end of my PhD, either go back to industry or go to academia and teaching. And you have that really wide range of opportunities, and you have to make a choice, and it's a very strong choice because, for example, choosing between industry and academia, that's almost impossible to then come back and say, okay, I was in industry, but I want to go back in academia. You can't do that in France, basically. So, well, you need to make a choice. And
How did you make that choices? Did you make a list, or?
I tried. I did a lot of things. That stressed me out a lot.
Yeah.
Like knowing that, okay, I have to decide something that will have a huge impact on the rest of my life, and I can't make a mistake. I have to just decide. So I used to be really stressed out with that, like really struggling, like what should I do? And just making the choice finally, it feels so good. Like, okay, now I know what I'm doing actually. So I'm not...
So you're not regretting your choices?
Well, maybe at some point I will, but at least it feels really good to have decided and stop just wandering. So I think it has been my biggest, really the toughest moment for me when I had so many open options, which is good in a way, of course having a lot of open options, but then you need to choose one and close all the others, so that's stressful.
So really quick, in 2 sentences, I think most people when they start studying, they imagine working for a big company or starting up. Why academia?
Well, definitely it was not my, it would not have been my choice when I started my studies. I saw myself, in those skyscrapers and working for a super big company. That was kind of the idea I had in mind back then. And also, of course, making a lot of money. When I started I was 18 years old, so that was kind of my big goal in life. I spent my money a lot. Making a lot of money is not really an option in French research. Maybe abroad, but not in France. And I think that the main thing is teaching. I discovered that I love teaching. Also, esteem helped with that when I started giving trainings. I love teaching, and I think that's where I can make a difference, helping educating students.
Okay, thank you very much. Edwin,
Beautiful.
you chose entrepreneurship right away. You turned out to be really successful, but what was your biggest struggle on the way to success?
That's a good question. I think I'm very much an optimist. So I always find it difficult to reflect and then come up with really big struggles, because of course there are the difficulties on the road, and you would just take those obstacles. If I would really have to dig, I think currently there's a challenge where that's been going on for the last 2 years, where you have a startup company where you know everybody, where we still have lunch always together, but now we're in 6 locations in the world. But you have a small startup company where you still know everybody and everything is managed informally, to a growth company now 80 people, next year on 40, where you need to really where you're not involved anymore. So you need to really put structures in place and a team in place and policies and processes, and that's you can't play the ball yourself anymore, so to say. And that's a very interesting challenge in terms of that process on how to make that happen. And there it's also it's always a challenge how to make sure that people remain inspired and that they see the top of the mountain. I always say, keep that mountain inside. We're not just calling universities, we're not just helping students, we're not just doing marketing, we are trying to create an Amazon for higher education. And for them to go after the long-term, really fundamental improvements, that is a challenge, because we're also very ambitious and we work hard and we have big objectives, and then to have the good mix between focus on the day-to-day operations to do those really well, but still having a keen eye for the grand plan and looking for long term. I think that's a very difficult way how to facilitate that, and that's something I'm struggling with.
And focusing on motivation, do you already know when you hire somebody that you're able to transfer your motivation of the company you're able to them?
Well, we very much look for motivation when we hire. We also have a specific interview to establish cultural fit.
Mm-hmm.
We give an advantage to people who have themselves studied abroad, so who share our mission to help others to go study abroad. But I'm not very positive about the quality of a recruitment process in general. I think if you would look at it statistically, if you can determine somebody is between a 5 and a 9, perhaps, but it can still be a 6. We don't want to have 6 and 6s in our company, but you cannot necessarily always find it out in a recruitment process. So the best people we have in our company, some of them I was really doubting when after the recruitment round. And some people that I was super sure about after recruitment turned out to be completely not a good match. So yeah, that's yes, we look at it, but you're not. It's very difficult to perfectly judge people in the recruitment process. Is my experience.
Yeah, being in the academic life. You need to teach, you need to research, you need to get along with your co-workers, you need to probably also get funds that your research can be paid. So I think it's a pretty tough job to work at a university. And what do you think about work-life balance in that sense? Do you have a, so to say, work-life balance, or is that not really a balance?
It's not too balanced at the moment. It's not too balanced? No. Well, especially because I've been looking for another job for next year, so that is very time-consuming. If I want to also continue doing research and of course still teaching, it is a bit hard. And during at the end of the completion of my PhD, it was the same. I was working basically like 10-11 hours per day plus 7 days. So that's just to finish it. At some point, the dissertation cannot just write itself, so you need to put a lot of efforts into it. And I think. So looking back, would you say that you could have done something different, work like let's say more efficient, or does it just have to be like that when you write your dissertation? I think it takes so much of your brain capacity. You're just only thinking about that, and I found that going out and meeting with people was not that good, because I could not talk about anything else but I'm about to finish chapter 4, which is not so interesting to other people. So well, in the end it was probably better at that time to just stay in my office and work, and then I went out again when that was done. Okay, but you're happy that you have done that? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So now your work-life balance, what do you consider what would be the perfect work-life balance? Well, I don't know. I don't mind doing a lot of working hours per day, but I do like having the opportunity to go abroad, for example, for just a weekend or for a long weekend. I do that pretty often. Okay. So as long as I'm able to do that at least maybe one every 2 months, then I'm fine and happy, I guess. Okay. Yeah, Edwin, same question for you. You're a CEO of a really growing company. Yeah. Do you have a life besides that? Or what does it look like?
It's, I think I'm in a very fortunate position where my work is almost my hobby. So there's a very big grey area between work and private life for me, because sometimes when I'm next week I'm going to Lisbon for a day, and then my fiance flies in and we stay there for the weekend. I've got a lot of people in the company that are my friends as well. So yeah, and I don't really believe that there's kind of a 100 points and that you have 50 life, 50 work. I believe you can go both 100. So I don't think you know, it's not necessarily if you take 1 point from one more point on work that you have 1 more point less in life. And for me, what helps me a lot is freedom. So I think that's also a little bit what you mentioned. So I sometimes work perhaps 100 hours in a week. That's very exceptional, but if there's something really important coming up, that will have happened. But if I want to have, if I want to go for a week to the Bahamas tomorrow, I go for a week to the Bahamas tomorrow. You know.
And are you able to work from the Bahamas as well?
Yes, you can work from. That's the beauty of running an online business. Not fully. Because of course I want to be in the office and I want to know what's going on. I want to be able to help people, coach people face to face. But yeah, I can work from anywhere. So that gives me lots of additional flexibilities. Yeah, so I'm even considering to move to the US for a while to really conquer that market, and then I can still manage the team here quite well from a distance.
And if I would work for your company, would I have a work-life balance, like sufficient and good for me? Can I work from? Could I work from, let's say, the Bahamas as well?
I think that what there is also that there's just a lot of freedom. So we give people a lot of flexibility to determine when they want to work, how they want to do their job. Of course, we help as well, and it depends on how well you are in control of the activities that you're doing. Maybe you're still learning, then you'll need to be much more in the office because you need to learn from your colleagues. We have people working as a satellite. So we have one colleague that works from the UK. Only works from distance pretty much. We have also people who, if they're in our development team, they work on the basis of Scrum. So they work on a small little army almost, and those guys are throwing around post-its all the time. So they are very closely together. I think our employees have a good work-life balance. Sometimes they have to work hard, but they know that they're doing that for a purpose. And I think that's also something that's important for us. You know, people that know that they have a responsibility, so they don't have a job from 9 to 5, but they have a job because a student needs to be helped, or university, we promise things to the university, and they finish that. And if it's finished at 4, they can go at 4, and if they need to finish it at 10, then they'll finish it at 10.
Okay. And would you think that your work affects your personal life, like friendships and family? And I mean, you said working 100 hours a week might happen, so that must affect your personal life in some way. Does it?
Yeah, sure.
Is that like a struggle, or is that a thing that you like to do because the vision of your company is?
Every now and then, and that's mostly because I'm traveling a lot, I have to miss out on social events. Birthdays of friends. So that's really a pity. I think that's a sacrifice that I'm consciously making, but I'm really it's really pity for me that I sometimes cannot be there. When I can be there, I always try to be there because I enjoy those activities. So I think that would be a sacrifice. However, I can make up to that because I can also tell my friends, we have an office in Barcelona, why don't we go there for a weekend, because I need to do some work on Friday, and then we'll. So there are ways to fill that in. My family can also, they're also taking advantage of the fact that.
So that is the freedom that you were talking about. Probably then,
So I think there's pros and cons to everything. But for me, it's
pretty much sounds.
I'm pretty happy.
Fine. What does it look like for you? You have a daughter. You like when
And the son.
and a son. Okay, you were talking about your daughter. So when do you leave the house? When do you come back? Do they sometimes complain that you're gone for too long, or do you work the weekends, or do you have them off? What does it look like for you, your work-life balance?
Yeah. In the current position, I think it's rather regulated, and I'm fortunate to have quite regular working hours. So I leave the house at 8:15. So I at least see the kids in the morning. Can tell them goodbye for school, and then I come back. Let's say between 6 and 7. So also here you have still some time for the family. I hardly travel over the weekends, so most of the weekends I'm at home. And I think to your point on the 100 points in total, for me it's very important what do you do with the time you have. It's not about the hours, the sheer number of hours, it's more about do you spend quality time, like traveling a lot. We do quite a lot of weekend trips as well, going to places and sightseeing and so on. Or you are at home, but everybody is watching TV in a different room. That's not quality time for me. And the second thing is, I think it's important, even if you are employed and not an entrepreneur with an own business, you should still understand why you're doing your job and enjoy what you're doing, because at the end of the day you spend most of your time and energy on this task. And therefore, in any case, no matter where you are in your career, you should try to find something where you see the purpose of why you're doing it and also enjoy doing exactly that. And then it doesn't take so much to really be balanced if you put enough hours in to be successful in the job, and on the other hand, the remaining hours you really use for quality activities.
That's very interesting, because Anne-Laure said she was aiming for or imagining making a lot of money at first. And then I'm asking myself, like, what do you think, how much, if you don't have the aim, if you don't like your job too much, how much can money compensate for not really loving your job all the time?
I think money is only maximum a short-time compensator. Money won't make you happy. It is especially probably when you are starting your career after the tough times at university as a student, no money, it feels good if the big paycheck comes, and you can finally afford something and don't have to think about it. If you advance in your career and your salary develops as well, there is a certain point when you don't have to think about whether you buy a glass of wine now or you go out for dinner anymore, but you can't also go and have dinner 3 times a day. So the additional money that comes on top of what you already have has less of a value. And then other things come more, at least for me, more to the front to say, okay, do I have to put in even more hours, which I have to cut somewhere else, or can I do what I'm doing now and just use the funds I'm earning to increase the quality of the time I have on the side?
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope that we could give you some insights about work-life balance, what tough obstacles are to overcome, and why it's actually okay to study industrial engineering and management. And I hope that we could give you some insights about that. So thanks, Frank, thanks, Anne-Laure, and special thanks to Edwin, because we were able to shoot this video in his residence here in Eindhoven. So thank you very much to you as well. And thanks for watching, and stay tuned.